Good evening, everybody. I have a couple of things tonight. We'll start with the bills first. Bills for the period of November 12th through 24th totaled $1,300,302.99. The five largest bills was number one, New York State Retirement, $822,989. I'm going to talk a little bit about that later. So, New York State Health Insurance, $108,680.51, December Health Insurance. Rosemar for paving Oxbow, $99,600. PSE&G Long Island Lighting, village-wide, $14,966.31. And Fundamental Business, $76,717.75 for the recovery services. And that's for our court fees. That's to go after people that haven't paid their tickets. We have a service that we use, and that's the piece that they get. $1,122,953.57. I shouldn't say that. That's the total, and of that, that's what they collect for us. And of that, their fee is like $7,500. So that's what that is. I get approval, please.
Motion to accept as presented.
Motion.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye. Okay, in front of you, you have the cash balances as of October 31st. That's for your information. But I would like to request, it was under the mayor's section, but I'd like to request approval to set a public hearing to consider overriding the 2% tax cap for the 2015-2016 fiscal year as established in the General Municipal Law 3C. And just to go back to that $823,000 bill that we have, that's one of the reasons why we need to get the taxpayers set up in case we have to do it. Those expenses we have no control over. In 2004, our annual employer contribution was $54,000, and now it's $823,000. So I think it's prudent to set us up to pierce the cap. If we don't have to, we won't do it. We do have surplus that we always use to reduce our taxes, and if we can get it below 2%, we'll do everything that we can. But if we can't, we need to have it in place so we don't have a problem with the state. So I think it's important that we set the hearing and do that and move forward. That's my recommendation.
Can I hear a motion?
No, Ron.
Motion made the date, I'm sorry.
December 8th?
December, okay.
Now, that money's gone up because of lack of performance on the,
Definitely the interest rate environment has been so low that there's no returns on the investments. And just in general, expenses have risen, and that's basically where it is. Our rates have been so low for years. I mean, every 3 or 4 years they say rates are going up. I'm a banker. I look at these things. We're probably going to see a rate increase over the next 2 years, but it's.
I thought that I had read that the contribution was going to be a little bit lower this year. Is that in fact?
It's not that much higher than it was last year, but it's not.
It's not lower.
It's still way up.
Ah,
No. You're never going to see $54,000 again.
Last year we put $500,000 in a surplus.
Yeah.
And all that $500,000.
It was 600 actually.
600 of that surplus. And we paid close to $800,000 last year.
Yeah.
And
Well, where does the state invest that money? I mean, is it all interest rate sensitive? Are they prohibited from anything a little bit more aggressive?
They're highly regulated in terms of what, as a state pension fund, they're very highly regulated. They can't buy
They can't
crazy
put it in a
stuff.
standard and Poor's index.
Probably not.
you know,
Or at
we
least
go-
not a lot.
If we go back over the last 6 or 7 years, if retirement had stayed at a percentage of increase up to 54,000, commensurate with the cost of living, we would have never raised
There's
taxes.
no way.
We wouldn't have been taking money out of surplus.
So
It-
1,500% increase.
No. And that's why industry has gone to 401k plans rather than, pension plans like a few years ago. Because they're more controllable. But when you're in that type of a plan,
And that's totally determined by the state.
Yes,
I mean,
it's all
just-
state control, we have no say in what they
Do
invest.
they have options at the state level to make changes that would allow people to invest their own money before one day?
I think at this point, no.
They could legislate it, they would have to legislate.
There's other stuff they could have legislated. You know, I always go back to, and I'll just go up the soapbox in a second. In 2000, under Patchogue and McCall, they took Tier 4, which used to be contributory to 3% on anybody that was in Tier 4. And they changed the law where now if you're in Tier 4, after 10 years, you don't have to contribute anymore. You know, considering the fact that, especially in education and in government, people haven't been hiring to the degree they had in, you know, the 90s, 2000s, and the early 2000s, probably 80% of the people that are in Tier 4 now, or 70%, are over 10 years. So nobody's contributing anymore. When you speak to the governor, when you speak to the legislature about, well, you legislatively changed it from contributory to non-contributory over 10 years. My sense is you can then change back legislatively for the 3%. Maybe you don't go back with one shot. You do 1% a year over 3 years so people don't get hurt. But when I get back and I saw both the New York Conference of Mayors and the meetings that we've had, you hear the same thing. It's against the Constitution, because the Constitution, the New York State Constitution says you can't change a benefit already given. Well, it's not a benefit. It's a contribution. And when you say, well, why don't you have a judge decide, that's not what the government wants. So we'll have paying, listen, 3%, would it change the 822? Maybe we'd knock it down to 650.
Still,
But you knock it down to 650, we don't raise taxes. You keep it at 822, because we don't know what next year is going to be. Is it going to be 822 again? Or, like you said, you know, they're talking about it going down. We don't know. And that's where the wild card is in this whole thing. That is the wild card. So,
Motion.
second.
Second.
And for, what date did you put down?
December 8th.
For public hearing on
Following meeting.
for public hearing on December 8th, consider overriding the 2% tax cap for the 2015-16 fiscal year. All in favor?
Aye.
It's okay.
that's all I have this time.
Very good.
Thank you, Mark.
Approve the settlement of the tax